got you a siddur.
What?
I was going to get you a siddur, so you wouldn't have to be... You okay? You finished?
Okay, recording.
Worked very hard to concentrate. Okay. We'll start on page Kuf Mem Ches, and the paragraph, and top paragraph that begins there. We already went into this, but this is where we're up to. Basically, in terms of deciphering what we're learning. The great statement that we came to with great pains to present it to us in great pains, that we should know and recognize and understand that all occurrences in the world, the creation, the very creation itself, the very presence of all objects on the most tangible and physical level is really sourced and is caused and is brought about by what's called Oyer HaSovev, a super Oyer. It's called Sovev, surrounding, not imbued into, but hovering on top. This is what we concluded, and this we pick up the next step. Okay, the paragraph beginning on Kuf Mem Ches. However, despite all that, despite all the fact that Oyer HaSovev is the force, the factual force that creates everything, brings everything into being, nonetheless, Hamshochas Oyer Makif, the bringing forth of this Oyer Makif, of this surrounding Oyer, what's called Oyer Makif, the supreme Oyer, Upiolosoi, and its effect, Hu Behelem. That presence of that Oyer and the effect of that Oyer remains Behelem, remains in a concealed state. Which means, in simple terms, it does all that inobtrusively. You're unaware how it occurs. Shal Shum Zeh, where as a result of that, because and in inference of this principle that this is a Sovev, and principle, because it is Behelem, because it is Behelem, because of that Nikra Sovev Makif. This is why it's called Sovev Makif. It surrounds. Surrounding means that it permeates everything that is within its environment, but it is Behelem. That effect is Behelem, is inobtrusive.
What's the word? Obtrusive?
Inobtrusive, not obvious.
Okay. Could you say it again? The word. Unintrusive. Obtrusive. B-U.
Okay, we'll learn the English next time.
Okay.
Because of this, it's called Sovev Makif. And the Rebbe explains what we mean with this. The Hagam for all that, Shezehu Yiker HaMoker. Although that this is the principal source, but not only source, but V'hasibo, the cause. Source is where something is sourced, comes from, but it may go through many different gyrations until something brings it forth. But actually, V'hasibo, this is actually the cause, L'chol Dover. This oil is what causes, ultimately, the world to come into being. And we shall discuss this. But for right now, just to explain, to go through this line. It is called Soviet Makim. Hagam, this is, although this is Iker HaMoker B'Sibel Chol, even though it is the principal source and the principal cause. Please understand the difference. Cause means that this is, brings it to the final state of becoming into being. It's not a distant source, but this is actually the cause for its coming into being. Yet still it is called, the proper description of its presence is makif. Makif means surrounding, hovering over. Lefi shu v'hela, because that it is v'hela. This is going to be continued over here. Just want to stop for the moment and give us a perspective. What are we shooting for? What are we in fact talking about?
To remain on this call, press 1.
Last time I had a time of why didn't you press 1? So I'm going to press 1 now. 1.
Returning to the conference room.
The muscle for this phenomenon of the effect of the Sevi for us in our environment is like a home. And we said many times that a person builds a house and then he furnishes the house. The reason he furnishes the house is that he perceives this house not as an external structure, but he perceives it as a home, something that encompasses his being and gives him a sense of well-being, a sense of a presence. And we quote in Gemara, Odom she'enei bayis, einei odom. This bias element is a defining element in a human being. To the extent that if he doesn't have one, he's not even an odom in the full sense of the word. We will not say he doesn't have a bed, he's not an odom. The other day we had somebody sleeping over here on a bench. It doesn't have, it's nothing if we say he's not an odom. But we say, in a bias, in a odom. And we discussed this, we explained the reason, the influence over there is because Adam, the definition was created, and another definition, as the Torah describes. Let us make men in our form and in likeness. What is his function going to be? He will be in the world and he will rule the world. In order to rule the world, he has to have a base in the world. He has to belong there. He has to have an ownership in the world. And therefore, any Odom, he's not an Odom in the full sense as the Rebbe describes Odom. In the creation, he's not an Odom. So now, coming back, this home element is what inspires and causes all the furnishings that complement this home, that fill this home. This is the real cause of it. As we explained the other day, if you take a dining room table and put it in the street, it's completely out of place. It may be a beautiful dining room table, doesn't belong there. It doesn't fit with its environment. And this environment is important. As a matter of fact, put a dining room table in the middle of the street, it's a mockery. You're insulting the dining room table itself.
Right.
You're not,
Just to get clear, the nimshal is...
I'll come back to the Mashal.
Even if
I
it
want
was
to have a
flower,
clarity in this. This is a suitable, it's a mashal that actually expresses this Indian.
What is the Indian?
Oh, okay, that's what I'm saying. The Indian is that the makif is what makes the pnimi.
Right, but in the mashal, the makif was pretty well perceived. By the nimshal, it's the helam.
No, wait 1 second. No, that's exactly what I'm shooting at. The makif is what is the cause for the pnimi. The table is in here because this is a home, because it is a house. However, when we sit down at this table, what are we experiencing directly? The bench and the table or the walls of the house? Hello?
Yeah, we seem to get involved with the
bench.
Mm-hmm.
The bench and the table and the table, of course. Although the real cause for it and the real inspirer that gives meaning to this bench and the table is the house. This is what the Rebbe is saying. The phenomenon of the servant, some of the makif, is of such powerful and tremendous effect. And its effect is, even if it's inobtrusive, even if it doesn't get involved in what it does, it is the cause and this is this inspiration behind everything that occurs, and gives meaning to everything that occurs. And without that, the whole thing, it becomes a joke. This is what the Rebbe is saying. This hamshocha, b'chol zeh, that's the beginning of the Mois. B'chol zeh, despite all that means, despite all that he just explained in our moshel, that it is the home that makes the table a table. In the nimshal, it is the oil haseviv is what creates the world. Earth itself. Still, the hamshoch of the makiv peolosi who behelem, that remains in a concealed state. You don't recognize it. You have to see. Shal shum zeh, and he never explained the meaning of these words. Okay, we continue towards the end of this chapter. Shal shum zeh, in inference of this principle that it is behelem, nikro seivav makif. This is why it's called seivav makif. It only surrounds and encompasses. And the Rebbe goes further and repeats the Hagam, for although shezehu yiker hamoker v'hasiba l'chol dover, although that this is the principal source, and not only the source as we pointed out, but the siba, the cause for everything, as we explained it in our moshel. The cause for a table coming into the house is not because you're tired, you have nothing to say, but because you have a home. The makif is the cause for everything that you bring into the home. It's the cause. It's not just only the source. The direct cause. I have a home. I have to bring a table in. A dining room table, no less. Not just a folding table that I can use practically. Yet still, nikro makif levad. Yet still, it is called makif. Levad means just makif. It surrounds it. It is not something which is participating in the creation itself. Although, in fact, this is what creates it. But yet we refer to it as makif, just makif. Lefi, the reason it's called makif levad, lefi, because shehu behelem, because this cause is behelem, is concealed. וכמי שכוסו בספר של בנים שום פרק ממחז. And as it writes in Tanya in Perek Memches, the Rotzo Loimar, that what is the inference by saying the word Soiv V'Makiv, Rotzo means to say Soiv V'Makiv Milmailo. In what sense is it Soiv V'Makiv Milmailo? That it surrounds from above. Although we just finished saying that this is what creates it. How is it Soiv V'Makiv? This is what creates it. This is direct cause for it. Nonetheless, it is called Soiv V'Makiv Milmailo Le'inyan, with respect. This inyan, the Soiv V'Makiv, has, so to speak, a limited inference. It's not an absolute statement, because in fact this is what creates it. But in inference, it has a certain limited thing. Le'inyan, with respect to, B'chinas Gilui Hashva.
To remain on this call, press 1.
Le'inyan B'chinas Gilui Hashva, with respect to the aspect of Gilui Hashva, of the Hashpa being recognized, revealed, identified, of seeing how this actually occurs. What made it happen? The Gilui Hashpa, it is Behelam. This the fact that this is the original cause, not the original cause, but this is the actual cause, the practical cause, is not seen. It's not Begilu. It's a distant cause. Begilu, you see another, a completely different thing. And the Rebbe explains further. Why is it called only Soiv V'Makiv? Ki, because hashpa shehi b'bchinas gilui be'elomis, the hashpa that is in a manner, in an aspect of gilui, that is revealed and recognized in the world. What hashpa is recognized in the world? Nikra, that hashpa is called b'shem halbosha. Halbosha means it dresses itself, it dresses up with the worldly canopy, so to speak, worldly effect. We'll try to use the word, to explain the word halbosha in a moment. Shemislabeshes be'ilomesh. Be'ilomesh, that means that this hashpa, if mislabeshes be'ilomesh, it dresses itself in the world. As a first step towards understanding inflammation means the fact that it is there is completely concealed. You see, that's like a person is in a garment. Puts on a garment. A jacket and a pants. What do you see? What's inside this garment? A body. But you don't see the body. What do you see? You see the garment. As a matter of fact, this garment is of great importance. Without a garment, you cannot stand up and daven. Is a garment davening, or is it your body and heart and mind davening? Why is it so important that you should have a garment? And yet, you may not daven without a garment. So the Rebbe explains, but we come back to this question. The hashpah that is in a gilui manner, in an identifiable manner in world, is called Yislab Halbosh. Yislabshus Boilomis. That is mislabish in world. Kiheim, why it's called mislabish, dressed up. Kiheim, because the world, malbishim masigim hashpah shemekabel. They encompass, they clothe, they give a garment to the hashpah that they receive. Coming back to what we started talking about, a garment. In order to daven, you're davening with your heart and your mind, hopefully. And yet, you must have a garment. To the extent that you're not allowed to daven without a garment. Because davening has to take place in the world. And in order that it should take place in the world has to encompass this person. How would you encompass a person in the world? You show, the person shows reference that he's not going to stand naked in the world. That's not respectable to the world. He's going to dress up. He's going to present himself in an acceptable and presentable and respectable manner. Because you're davening where? Davening in the world. But you're davening with your heart and soul. With your mind. You're davening with your mind and soul and heart, but where? The soul as it is always in Gan Eden, or the soul as it is here in this world? It is the soul that is in this world. And if it is in this world, it has to conform to the world level, to the world identification. In this world, despite the fact that the body of the person is what holds a soul in it. God forbid anything wrong with the body, it is disaster. Yet, we don't want to expose the body. Because if you expose the body, you forget about the soul that's in it. It becomes all body. In order to focus in and to make the point, yes, I have a body, but what is the principle in the body is what's contained in the body, the neshama and the soul. I'm covering up the body. In order to bring the soul into this world through this body, which can only happen to the body, I have to cover up the body. Because if the body is revealed in the world, that becomes the primary attention, the primary presence, instead of the soul that gives it life. The body becomes the primary presence. And therefore you're davening with your body instead of with your soul.
It'd be a funny expression.
You put on a garment, you cover up the body, and then you say, I'm davening with the soul that gives life to the soul. But the soul is behelim. The soul is behelim. But in order that the soul should be recognized and present in the full true sense in the world, he has to be in a body, and the body has to be covered. But when the body is covered, that means that you recognize that this body is in the world. It's not just a body floating someplace. The soul is mislabish in the world, in the body mislabish where the body is. The body is in the world. This hislapshus gives the soul, the human being, the intellect, a sense of his present reality. One second. His present reality. He's not, please understand, he's not just davening because with his soul. He's davening with his soul in the body, in the world.
It's interesting.
This is called dislaptions. If he's only davening with his soul, then he's not really involved in the current state. This is called makif. This is makif.
It's interesting to know that before the scene, the Esadat scene.
Please, you have it now.
No, just.
I understand, but we have plenty of difficulty to understand what we're saying over here. This is what I was saying. Why is it called Sefer Makif? It's called Sefer Makif because, due to the fact, even though this is the real chayas, in the world itself, the real chayas, but it's not mislabish, it doesn't relate overtly, openly to the world. Because if it should relate to the world overtly, in the world scene, in the world orientation, a naked body is not acceptable. It's an insult.
Well, the nimshal here is if makif related overtly, that would be akin to nakedness.
Yeah. Because you're not recognizing where you are. Like giving cognizance that you're in the world. Please understand.
Part of recognizing where you are is to know you're not just in a worldly context. We're, yes, at this table, but we're within a shul. That's not a naked thought to have a sense of makif.
If you come naked to shul, you are not recognizing where you are.
Indeed, but if we do recognize that it's not just this table and these furnishings, but indeed it's within a wider context, that's appropriate.
Yeah, but in order to, then you have to have that be slapshus. To be there has to be slapshus, otherwise it remains a makif. Be slapshus means that it gives cognizance to its environment and it conforms to the rules of the environment.
Conforms to the rules of the environment. We did say the whole environment is created by the makif.
True.
So who's making the rules here?
It's created by the makif, but the makif wants it to be a real place. Nobody created it. You create the rules. If you come into the world, you say, I'm in the world, I'm davening, I'm naked. It's not suitable. Not suitable at all. Why? Let's say this a step further. Because in this world, when you see a body, you don't see the soul. You see a body. A body does not daven, does not learn, does not do anything of this nature. It is a soul that's within the body. In order to make a point that it is the soul that's within the body that is primary over here, not the body. You cover up the body. It shouldn't be distractive from the truth that is there. When you have cognizance of this phenomenon, that you are doing this thing in the world environment, then you mislavish in the world and then you conform to the worldly rules. In this world, showing a body is not appropriate. It's distractive.
Unless you're a Navi or Adam or Rishon, I guess.
Unless you are in a state where there is no distraction at all. You're on a higher level, but in the world as it is, there is a distraction.
We came into this whole discussion about clothing because inside it said that
Malbishim. In order to be in the world, it has to be halbosha, mislabeshes. Mislabeshes, boy, world means that it conforms to the rules of the world. As an example, he said, what is confirming to the rules of the world? You put on a garment, you cover up your body. Same is true in this oil and key that gives sustenance and cause for the world. In order that it should be bipnimi, so to speak, in the world itself, identified by world parameters, it has to be mislabish in world. It then comes through, and its effect is through some kind of a worldly means, not a super means. A cause and effect aspect, what's called in the world. I want to go to the next line. Okay, I'm starting the line that begins Masigim. Because that hashpoah that is in Gilu, revealed in the world, is slapshus in the world. Because they mean the world sense and they recognize and understand the hashpoah that they receive. Whereas the hashpoah that is not in a Gili manner, but it comes inobtrusively, in concealed, and so effect from behind. And the worlds do not comprehend and recognize its presence. It occurs in the world, but in the world, and I have no means to recognize it. That hashpoah is not called mislabeshes, even though it has full effect. It's not called mislabeshes, and it is imbued in it. It is an hashpoah that's called makefes of seveves. It surrounds the world, but it's not mislabesh. Just like we said before in the moshel. The table here is caused by the walls of the house, but you don't see that. You see the table for some other reasons.